Father of our Lord God and Savior Jesus. Created people. Yeah, right. That's right. He created he created Adam and then eventually he created Eve. And he gave them authority over all things. God created a garden of Eden and for Adam and Eve and giving them plenty of food. However, he forbade one thing. What did he forbid? Through tree of knowledge, exactly. Tree of knowledge. And so we have a little video here. Play louder. Can you hear it? Wait. Can you put the mic closer?
I don't know where the speaker is. Did God really say that you can't eat this fruit? He said we should not eat it or we will surely die. You won't die. Indeed, you'll become like God if you eat it. Really? Okay then. Here, Adam, have a piece.
If you couldn't tell, Eve falls into the serpent deceives Eve and she eats the fruit and she gives it to Adam as well, and thus they both follow God's grace. And they're banished from the Garden of Eden, and the cherubim with its flaming sword protects the Garden of Eden and kick out Adam and Eve. That's important because we'll ask stuff like that later. So after sinning, what happened? What happened? What happened in Adam and Eve? Yeah, I said that, but what happened after that? Yeah, they made their own family. So they multiplied throughout the earth. So Abel and Cain, yeah, you're right. So they multiplied throughout the earth. However, they weren't really good. They were evil. People did whatever they wanted at the time, and people didn't do what was right in God's eye. They didn't care about what God said or what God wanted. So as a result, God said that he was going to wipe out the whole earth with a flood. And he chose one guy. You guys know him? John 13. Noah? Noah. So next slide, next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, wait.
God, is that you?
Yes, Noah, it is. Please listen to the important things I have to say to you. Noah, people do not love one another as they should. So I have decided to wash the earth with a flood and start over.
This is terrible news.
Don't be afraid, Noah. I'm telling you this because you are the only man who still has me in his heart. I have chosen you and your family to help me.
Okay, bro, I don't know how to speak it. Also, you need to, when you're
Can you see her now? No. No, it's God talking to Noah. How they showed it.
This is terrible news.
Don't be afraid. I'm telling you this because you are the only man who still has.
Can't hear it?
I have chosen you and your family to help me start.
So God tells Noah that everyone on earth is bad and that the fact that he has to wipe out the whole earth. Noah's astonished, of course. But God tells him to trust him, and Noah does. And so God wipes out the whole earth except for Noah's family, leaving Noah to repopulate the whole earth afterwards. And if you go next slide. Afterwards, Noah eventually repopulates the whole earth, and they come up again, with eventually the earth being not so good once more. Abraham was the only good person at the time, and he honored what God wanted, even though his father at the time was an idol worshiper. Play. How many? Sorry? There's a few. You want them or no? You want them? Shh. Abraham. It's VeggieTales. So what happened was God promised Abraham many, many generations because Abraham followed God and did what he commanded. So you guys get that? So yeah, God promised Abraham many, many generations of inheritance, and as long as he followed what God wanted. Now Abraham had two sons. Who do you guys know what the two sons were named? No. Abraham had 2 sons. Who are 2 Abraham's sons? Do you guys know? No. No. Isaac's one. Isaac's one. The other guy starts with an I, too. No. No. His name was Ishmael. His name is Ishmael. I didn't hear you. Okay, relax, relax. So Abraham had 2 sons, Ishmael and Isaac. However, Ishmael was by the servant Hagar and not his wife Sarah. And so Sarah banished Hagar and forced her to move in spite of her having a son before her, or because she thought Abraham favored Ishmael more than Isaac. So Isaac eventually grew up and got married and had 2 children, Esau and Jacob, who you guys were saying earlier. And who was the firstborn? No. Esau was the firstborn. So Esau was the firstborn. However, do you know how? Do you know how he got the birthright? No. How did Jacob get the birthright from Esau? Yeah, but how? How did he do it? But how? How did he trick him? Yeah. So he got fur, just like because Esau was very hairy, and so he got fur and put it on him so he would pretend to be Esau because he thought his father was blind at the time. So he pretended so that he would give him the birthright. Esau was the hairier one, and then 2 brothers. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Jacob was more of a tent dweller, while Esau was more of a hunter. So Esau furious at this because he lost his birthright, right? Would you guys be mad if you lost your birthright? Birthright, which means like you get first. Once your father dies, you get first. And God's. Yeah, exactly. Would you guys be mad if you lost your birthright? But you didn't get it right. Just wait. Just relax. Relax. Okay. So Esau, furious, wanted to kill Jacob, and as a result, Jacob fled in fear. Jacob stayed with his uncle. Do you guys know his name? Jacob's uncle. He fled to his uncle. I can't. You said you knew it. Anybody else? Anybody else? Kiro? No. You guys know? Any of you guys? You guys know? Jacob's uncle? Jacob's uncle? You guys guessing? It starts with an L. No. What are you saying? No, not Lamech. Close though. It's Laban. His name was Laban. Okay, no one gets candy if you keep talking. No one gets candy. No one gets candy if you keep talking like that. You have to raise your hand. You have to raise your hand. So Jacob stayed with his uncle for 20 years until he worked up courage to go back to his brother and make amends with him. If you guys remember that. And so what happened when Jacob was too afraid to go back to meet his brother? So what did God do? Close. They fought, yeah. So God actually fought with Jacob to test his strength, so that Jacob would even feel more strength in his fact that he could beat Esau if they ever came to that encounter. Next slide. So shh. No candy. No candy. No candy. Keep talking. No candy. Shh. Jacob. Shh. No talking though. No talking. I didn't ask questions yet. I didn't ask questions. So afterwards, what happens? Do Jacob and Esau even fight? Do you guys remember? No. So they actually make, so Jacob and Esau actually make peace, and they never fight. And Esau actually runs with him with open arms and accepts Jacob. So he didn't actually have to fight him at all. So how many, do you guys know how many children Jacob had? How many children? 13? You didn't look? Okay. So can you guys name at least two? Two. If you get candy if you name two. Two of Jacob's children. That's one. No. Two of Jacob's children. Two of Jacob's children. He said Benjamin, that's one. So, well, you have to name two. Can you give him candy? Him right there. Him right there. Him right there. There's candy right there. Right there. He already answered. You have to wait till the next question. There's right here. Yeah. No, him. If you guys have to be quiet to win. You guys have to be quiet. Shh. If you answer questions, you'll get candy. You guys have to answer questions, you'll get candy. So, right? Do you guys remember what happened to Joseph? So, yeah, he got. So, first, what happened? If you raise your hand. Yeah.
They sold him for money or like silver or whatever. Okay. He went to Egypt as a slave, and then he got innocent because he got like the girl lied about like because she liked him, I think, but he didn't want to take her back.
You're right. Yeah. Hey, him right here. You're right here. You have to be quiet. He raised his hand. Okay. Shh. Guys, listen. So he was right. So what happened to Joseph was he was sold into slavery by his brothers. If you remember the story, how it went, was originally they wanted to kill him because they were jealous of him, because Jacob favored him over his other sons. They did put him in a hole originally. They put him in a hole, and then eventually merchants came by, and then they decided, you know what, let's sell him to slavery in Egypt. And he was right. Potiphar was the one who eventually accepted him, was a part of Pharaoh's government. Shh, just wait. Yeah, I said that. But Potiphar's wife wanted Joseph, and he wanted to commit adulterous things with him, but Joseph refused, and as a result, he was put into jail. It's like he wanted to commit relations with her. She wanted to commit relations with him. Do you guys remember what happens after that? Any of you guys here? You guys know? You raise your hand. Anybody? Yeah. After that. After I said that. After that. So, whose dreams did he explain? Do you guys remember? Whose dreams did he explain? If you raise your hand. Candy. Who? The two people. Two people he explained dreams in jail. Joseph explained two dreams in jail. Just raise your hand, and then I'll. No. In jail. In jail. He was in jail, and there's two people who worked for the king. One had an occupation of. He was a butler. Yeah, one was a butler, and the other one was a. No. He worked for the king. No. You know, one was the butler, and then the baker. Baker. It was a baker. So yeah. No, because you only answered one. We need both. So yeah, eventually, do you guys remember what happens? So the baker the butler, remembers him and brings him to to Pharaoh when there's a famine, and tell when Pharaoh has a dream, and he prophesies his dream. Do you remember what the dream was? Sure. You give him one. Give him one. Hey, sit down. Sit. Well, just one. Just give him one. Okay. So yeah, that's right. So well, it's already too late. So we'll move along. You guys are doing the slide, right? What happened? We're on Joseph, sold into slavery. So here's the video you guys can see. Shh. Play it. Okay. So stop. So basically, the Israelites were captivated in Egypt for how many years? Do you guys remember? No, it's quite a few. It's double zeros. No. No. Raise your hand. You have to raise your hand before you say anything. 400. Hey, yo, you guys giving Ken? So the Israelites were in Egypt for 400 years. And if you guys remember, the Pharaoh treats them very poorly because he doesn't remember what Joseph did for them during the times of the famine. And so God asks Moses specifically to save them. So do you remember what the scene looked like? I have a picture here, but do you remember what the scene looked like? Burning bush? Well, you have to raise your hand. What do you say? But he said something first. He said something first. No. He said you find your brother eventually, but he said something first. It has something to do with his footwear. Yeah, something like that. Well, you have to raise your hand. You're not. Exactly. So God told Moses to take off his sandals for the land he was on was holy. And so got a scene here. That's Moses. So takes off his sandals because it's a holy place. Well, I know they're shoes, but we're modern times now, I guess. So Moses went to Egypt with his brother to free the Israelites. And how many plagues do you remember? Do you remember there was? How many plagues? No. 10. He's right. 10. Do you guys remember 2? 2? You have to raise your hand. If you remember 2 plagues. 2 plagues. Huh? Yeah. That's good. Yeah, that's good. Right here. Yeah. So, do you remember the last plague? Anyone here? Do you guys remember the last plague? Anybody? No searching. Put the phone down. No, put the phone down. So what was the last plague? No. That's the first plague. Not Pharaoh's firstborn son. What was the last plague that Moses did? That Pharaoh finally said, that's enough. I can't do it. Okay.
Every firstborn son of each family will die unless they put cattle blood on it. Exactly. So Moses told Pharaoh that every firstborn son would die, but he told the Israelites that to put the lamb blood on the door. What feast is this? If you guys remember, what feast is this? This is candle. You have to raise your hand.
Guys, know nothing? Okay. What feast is this called? This called where they put lamb blood on the door. What's it called? No. 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 It starts with a P. It is, yeah. Yes. No, 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 no. No, 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 wait. But there's another term I'm looking for. No, you didn't raise your hand. Okay, she said it. She said it. She said it. She's. Hey, hey, hey. Okay, shh, shh, shh. So, Pharaoh finally says, "That's enough. I can't take it anymore." He says, "Take your people and leave." And do you remember what happens? What happens? You have to raise your hand. No, no, no. I was pointing to him. Yeah. It wasn't the ocean. What was the sea called? It was called a certain sea. And Red Sea, Red Sea. Both of them. So listen. No, he didn't answer any. He didn't answer. He didn't raise his hand. He did that one. The Red Sea? He raised his hand. He raised his hand. You have to raise your hand. That's why I said, shh. You have to raise your hand. You raise your hand. Relax. You have candy. Let's relax. Raise your hand quietly. You don't have to. If you scream, you're going to give it to somebody else. Shh. Shh. If you scream, you're going to give it to somebody else. Why would you want to give it to somebody else? So let's relax. Let's relax. So they were cornered at the Red Sea, and it seemed like a dead end. Do you guys know what happened now? He raised his hand first. He did raise his hand first. Yep, play the clip. Play the clip. He's right. He's right. He's right, too. Can someone turn on the lights when the clips are playing? Turn off the lights when the clips are playing? So as people can see better? The last one there. Yeah. Shh. Shh. Guys, we're in church. Guys, we're in church. Shh. So, oh, you can turn it back on. Turn back. So, he splits the Red Sea into two. The Red Sea is pretty big if you've seen it, but you have? That's great. But basically it's really big, and he split it into two, which is a great sign of God's miracle. So Moses leads the people through the desert, and eventually he dies. And do you remember who takes over his no. You have to raise your hand. Raise your hand. Who? No. Joshua. You have to raise your hand. You raise your hand. If you say it out loud, you're giving it to somebody else. Why would you give it to somebody else? Don't say it. But just raise your hand, and then you'll be picked, and you'll get the answer. It's that simple. That's all you have to do. You don't have to say it out loud. So Joshua takes over after Moses' death and leads the people into the promised land. Do you remember the biggest city they took over? Big walls. No. The big city with big walls that they took over. They took over the city. They took over big walls, very big walls. No, no. Jericho, Jericho. So they took over the city of Jericho that had mighty, mighty walls. Do you guys remember how they took over? Do you know? Have you heard the song? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. They did send spies, but yeah, that's not. We need another person. They did march around the city, but do you remember what happened? What did they do? What did they do? Anybody? I need more specific. It's a known story. It's a known story. So nobody knows? Nobody knows? They made noise. Anything else? Anything else? Give one more thing. One more thing. They did send spies. But I just need you. How did they take over the city of Jericho? What did they do? You said you marched. They made noise. Just give me. They did chant at the end, yeah? They did pray to God, but I need something specific they did. How many days did it take? 7 days. 7 days. Shh, shh, shh. 7 days. It took 7 days. It took 7 days. And they marched around the city. How many times for 6 days? How many times every day for 6 days? No. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. No. 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 One. So they march times one time every day for 6 days. And on the 7th day, how many times did they march around the city? Raise your hand. Raise your hand, guys. Come on. 7 times. Yeah, 7 times on the 7th day. So, you can play the clip here. So, 7.
The Israelites overtook the city of Jericho as God had commanded. They remembered Rahab because of her faithful.
You guys, someone said the spies. Do you remember what they did? Yeah. I can't hear you. Too many soldiers? That's what you said? They check on them. Yes, her name starts with an R. Do you remember? No. Rahab. Her name was Rahab, and she let them help them. And then what did they do for Rahab in the end? No. Okay, that's irrelevant. Let's continue. Let's continue. Continue. Yeah, they kept her family safe and they protected her. So now we're going to Judges. I taught you guys this one, so I think you guys should know this one. Does anyone know anything about Judges at all? Anything at all? Judges. Raise hand. Where's raise hand? There was 12. 12 in the book of Judges, yeah. Right. But I need, what did they do? What did they do? No, like yeah, anybody? Help lead the people. So they're military leaders against the other nations. They're military leaders against the other nations. When nations would attack, they would defend, and when they would attack other nations as well. You guys know name like at least 4 judges. If you name 4 judges, you get candy. 4 judges. 4 judges. That's 1. 4. You can't. I'm not pointing to you then. Sorry? Sorry? Samuel is one of the judges, but he's not in the book, but I'll count it because you said 1. So any other judges, you guys know, there's a strong guy. Raise your hand. What are you guys doing? Samson. If you say the answer without raising your hand, you're going to lose the point. Why? One more. No. Gideon is 1, but you didn't raise your hand. So anybody else? You raise your hand? Yeah, Gideon. Sorry. Okay. So I'm specifically going to talk about the book of Samson. So do you guys remember what happened to Samson? Specifically about Samson. Sorry, the chapter talking about Samson. What happened to Samson? Shh. Guys, stop talking. Stop talking out of turn. Yeah. No, do you remember how Samson was born? Do you remember what happened? Huh? Sorry? He got tempted? No, how was he born? How does he born? You guys remember? No. So his mom was barren. So what happened? She couldn't have a child. Children.
God.
Raise your hand. Sorry? God bless her. Okay. Anything else? Specifically, it had to be something he had to do. She promised. Shh. Guys, stop talking. What do you... Sit down. What are you doing? Sit down. Okay. Exactly. God told... What is that called? That's called a certain vow. What is that called? To not cut his hair. What is that called? You guys know. Starts with an N. Yeah. N-A. Huh? Sorry? You can't hear? Oh. The certain vow that told Samson he couldn't cut his hair. What was it called? Anybody know? Certain vow that Samson couldn't cut his hair. No. What was it called? What was the vow called? He couldn't cut his hair. 5, 4, 3, 2. So the vow was called a Nazarite vow. So a Nazarite vow, there was 3 things they couldn't do. Number 1, they couldn't cut their hair. Number 2, they couldn't touch dead bodies. And number 3, they couldn't drink any grape sort of substance. So no wine. And so, do you guys remember what happened to? You remember what happened? Oh, not yet. What happened? Well, how do you get to that? How do you get to that state? No, not yet. So I'm asking the question. What was he like to Israel? Yeah, and what did he do for Israel? He fought against the Philistines. So he protected them against the Philistines. Now, the Philistines weren't too happy about this. So who did they get? So they got Delilah. What did she do? How did she do so? So, anybody know? Anybody else know? Shh. No, how did she learn? She kept asking him many times, and many times he kept telling her false lies. But eventually he gave in, And he told her that his secret of his strength was actually his hair. I've been trying to ask them. They don't, they don't answer. So, okay, what happened? What happened afterwards? When Delilah cut his hair, what happened? He lost his strength. He felt embarrassed. Yes, true. Anything else? Do you remember what happened? Yep. No, before that. I'm talking about what happened. What happened? They captured him, and they tied him.
They tied him to the poles of the temple.
Yeah. So shh. So they blinded him. They cut him to. They brought him to the temple. And now raise your hand. Does anybody remember what he does? And what happens? What? Yeah. Yeah. So he's on the chains right here, and then I can play it afterwards. But God gives him the strength one last time to destroy the Philistines who are mocking him because of his eyes, because they cut out his eyes, as you guys said. Play the clip. Yeah. Play the clip. Can you hear it? Shh. So Samson asked God for strength one last time to break the pillars so he can take revenge on the Philistines. Now, has anybody heard of Ruth? Okay, anybody give us a summary? Any story? Story? You know one here? Summary on Ruth. Shh, guys, listen. She's explaining it. So yeah, that's pretty much a full summary. So, do you guys hear that? Do you guys hear that? Any of you guys? So basically, what happened? If we could chunk it up in piece by piece. So basically, Ruth was from Moab, and she wasn't from Israel. And so when Naomi and her husband and their two sons moved to Moab during a time of famine in Bethlehem. And they married, and her two sons married two women, Orpah and Ruth. So one married Orpah, one married Ruth. But however, the father and the two sons died in the land. So now what happened after that? Her father and two sons died in the land. What happened? The father and two sons died in the land. Anybody know? Shh. Anybody know? Shh. Raise your hand. The question is, well, last slide. Don't go next slide. Last slide. The question is, what happened after that? After Naomi's husband and her two sons died, what happened? Raise your hand. She explained it. She said what happened. Nobody remember? After Naomi's husband or her two sons died, what happened? So what did Ruth say to Naomi? Or what did Naomi say to Ruth first? If you remember. Exactly. So Naomi says to Ruth, she says to Ruth, you don't have to come with me. You should stay with your people, stay with Orpah, because Orpah stayed there. But Ruth said, no, your people are my people, and I will come with you. So you can play the clip. You can play the clip. And, oh, you could give her candy. If you gave her candy. Okay. You get it? Okay. So, if you can't hear it, so basically it's Ruth right here, and she's talking to Naomi, telling her she'll be with her, even if the bad times come. Next slide. Stop. So she's saying, your people are my people, and I'll go with you. Back to Bethlehem. When she recorded? Oh, not too long ago. Yeah. But so Ruth went to Naomi and what happened then? What happened then? In Bethlehem, they were in Bethlehem. What happened? Anybody know? How did she marry? How did she even find Boaz? She explained it. She said it. No, how did she marry one of her wealthy relatives? You can just read it, but you have to find. Do you remember why? Do you know why? Shh. But how did she meet the wealthy relative? Because Ruth was at the time with Naomi, and at the time, there was a certain law that allowed poor women to pick up grain from the rich people's granaries or the fields. So she was allowed to pick up the grain they missed. And so in that time, Boaz saw her and said, she's beautiful. I think I want to marry her. And however, she has had to be promised to the closest relative of her husband. But her closest relative, her husband, said, no, I'm not going to marry her. And he did what? What did he lift up? He lifted up something. Do you guys remember? He lifted up something. It was like a piece of his clothing. One of his pieces of his clothing. No. Like something he wears. He wears it. He took off and he raised it. No. You have to raise your hand. It's a slipper. It's slipper. So it's a shoe. You're right. Okay, so he took off his shoe and he raised it, meaning that he was not going to be wanting to marry Ruth, and that Boaz was able to marry her. And do you guys remember who her great grandson is? Great grandson. Ruth's great grandson. David. That's one. Ruth's great grandson was David. So now similar stories follow with just as there was with Samson, another barren woman, and her name was Hannah. Do you guys know any of Hannah's story at all? None? So Hannah was a barren woman at the time, and she asked God, please give me a son. Please give me a child. Because she wanted a child. And God eventually answered her prayers and gave her a son named Samuel. So, play the clip. You can't hear it. Can it be louder? Okay. So, basically, Hannah promised to God that she would dedicate Samuel's life to God. And so what would that look like? Anybody have an idea? Raise your hand. Any idea? Any idea? How she would dedicate his life? You guys, no one's saying anything, so I don't think it's that hard. I don't think it's that easy. No, opposite. What was age? What was like becoming of age? When was becoming of age? No. It's not a specific age, but it's a time when they stop doing something. Or when they start doing something. No. Well, like, no. It's when they're able to eat food, like they're able to chew food and they don't have to drink milk anymore. And so basically what happens is Eli raises Samuel in the temple. And Samuel one night, have you guys heard the story? Samuel one night? Raise your hand. Eli. He knew it was, sorry? He knew it was God. Yeah, that's right. So he fully explained the scene. So what happens is that Samuel comes to Eli and asks him, he's like, "You're calling me? Why are you calling me?" Because he says, "Samuel, Samuel." But he didn't know that it was God. So this happens 3 times until eventually Eli tells him that God is calling you. And so you can play the clip if you can hear it. If not. Shh. So basically, yeah, what happens is that he tells him that. Next clip. You guys know who's calling Samuel, right? Yeah. Next clip. He tells him next time. He tells him basically next time, tell Lord your servant is listening. Because he knows it's God now. So next slide. So now there's another person who comes into. Pause, wait. So who do you guys think I'm going to talk about next? Who's this picture describing right here? No. The Samuel's there. David. No, you have to raise your hand. You didn't raise your hand. Okay, listen. So right here, Samuel eventually becomes an older elder of Israel, a prophet, and also a priest. Shh. All you have to do is raise your hand. Shh. So Samuel is an elder of Israel, and then anoints David as king, because if you remember why, Saul is not really a good king at the moment. Saul is corrupt, and so God tells Samuel to choose a new king. The next slide. So there's a little scene. I don't think this sound's going to work well, though.
I have come to know your sons. I see. Well, of course.
Can you hear it?
He wants to meet the boy. No. Well, I guess we start with the oldest first. Which is my oldest? I am, Father. Yes, of course. The lion. Yes.
So
I have come to meet your son. Man sees only the outward appearance, but the Lord.
no, that's Samuel. Sorry.
And I am this good man, but not the one I chose.
Shh. This is important because the final questions will be eventually asked. And they'll ask you on this. Huh?
chose them?
None of these do I choose either, Samuel.
Are these all of your sons? There is another one, tending the sheep. He's just a boy, though. Send for him. Now, remember, Samuel, he's very young. Father, you called for me.
Arise, Samuel. Anoint him, for this is he.
So what happens is that David was actually the smallest and youngest of his brothers. So God chose the smallest and youngest out of his brothers to become king of Israel. Last slide. So David had how many sons? Jesse had how many sons? If you guys remember, Jesse is David's dad. You guys have to pay attention. I told you guys. How many sons did he have? No, not three. Raise your hand. No. I said, how many sons? No. No. Two? You guys saw the video, right? There's like so many guys. No. No. How many? Yeah. No. 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 You were close earlier. Oh. You have to raise your hand though. Yeah, it's 8. Hey, sit down. Including David. David had 7 siblings. So including David, that's 8. That's 8. So now I have a little video if you guys want to watch. Shh. I have a little video if you guys want to watch. It's David versus Goliath. I think you guys would like that. Shh. Play.
How long is it?
Now he leads the Philistines' greatest champion. Goliath. You win, and the Philistines will be your slave. I win, and you will be our slave.
Someone must fight him. Not you, Jonathan. The warrior who defeats him will be a rich man.
Not one man in Israel. Not one of God's people.
I'll do it. You're no soldier, you're a shepherd.
Shh. Guys, pay attention. I'm gonna quiz you guys on this.
If I protect my sheep, God will protect me.
Where is your faith? Where is your God?
Kill him. Need this. I'll be better without it. Here do I walk, in the valley of the shadow of death. Fear no evil. You are with me. Thy rod and staff, they comfort me. Anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life.
Israel has found a champion. Don't waste my time anymore. You have to die.
I will fight you.
So, you guys pay attention? Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna ask. Yeah, right. So, can anybody tell me what just happened? Did anyone know what happened before that, though? Like the story beforehand. What happened? How did David even get in this situation? Yeah, but that's what he said. I'm asking, how did David get in the situation? What brought him here? How did he get to the camp? You got any of you guys remember? I said he was small, and his brothers were like much bigger than him. He did ask the king, but before that, what happened? What happened? How did he get there? God did choose him, but anything else? You guys remember how he got there? His brothers. It's to do with something with his brothers. Close, close. So he was actually, his father didn't let him go. Shh, shh. So he was actually not allowed to go to battle, and so he was giving food to his brothers who were in battle at the time. And what did Goliath said? Someone said it. Can you raise your hand? Someone said it. What did Goliath say? While he was there, he was giving food to his brothers. Yeah, but he said something else. He said something about God. Yeah, so he was disrespecting God, and David heard this and did not take this kindly. And so David told them that he was gonna fight against them, but they didn't believe him. And Saul allowed him, but he told him to take the shield. David didn't. He said he trusted in God, and he took his slingshot and shot it at Saul's forehead. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. So now I'll ask a bunch of questions. So to test. Oh, is there food? Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh, it's just questions now. Okay, sure. Okay, thank you. Oh, she just wrote on your phone. Her phone, okay.